guys, it's Daniela again and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hello. So for today's video, I've got a long awaited video that I've had in mind to do for ages. So I'm going to do the Jessica Braun blusher tag. So I've been wanting to do this for ages and I just haven't. So today is the day I'm actually finally going to do the blusher tag. I'm really excited about this video. I'm really enjoying watching people's like collection videos and stuff. And for me, it's something interesting to watch and to film and then to also edit. So I really wanted to do my own version of these videos. I've already done a foundation tag, so I'll link it up here if you haven't watched it already. Make sure you do, it's a good one. So yeah guys, today's video I'm going to be doing the blusher tag by Jessica Braun. And I really hope you're excited about this video, and let's get started. So for today's video, I'm going to be mentioning not only just single blushes and powder blushes, I'm going to be mentioning cream blushes and liquid blushes, and then blushes that are in face palettes as well, because I do have quite a few face palettes and a lot of them are actually like palettes that I actually really enjoy using because of the blushes, or I like the formulas and stuff. So my newest blusher is this one here. So this is the Hourglass Ambient Strobe Lightning Blush Palette. So I've only actually ever used this blusher once, and the first time I used it, it was a little bit of a learning curve just because I'm not really used to a blusher having so much glow. When I did use this, I used both of these blushes and I actually did like how my makeup looked that day. It's just something that I wasn't used to because I never really wear like glowy blushes. So as you can see, those are the three colours, and this one in the middle, I know it's a blusher palette, but I don't see how the one in the middle is really a blusher. To me, it's more of like a highlight or a topper, just because it is like pretty glowy and it doesn't really have a lot of colour. So yeah, I bought this in the Harrods outlet. I can't remember how much this was, but I do love Hourglass, so I'm really happy to have it in my collection. It just was like a learning curve because I assumed the blushes in this were going to be similar to the blushes that I have in my other Hourglass palette, but I kind of should have known that from the name, Strobing Light Blush Palette, so that's my own fault. Another newish blusher to my collection is this one here. This is by XXX Revolution. I don't know the name of this one. I'll put it up on the screen. I can't say it, but it looks like this. It's actually the blusher I have on right now, and I really enjoy this colour and the formula of this blusher. I've been really just drawn to these kind of burnt orangey shades, especially when I have like minimal makeup, like base makeup and freckles. I've just been really enjoying it. And yeah, it's like pretty pigmented, so you do have to use like a light hand. So yeah, this is also a newer blush in my collection and I've been using it a lot. It's just such a pretty like burnt orange colour, and I really like the formula actually. And the packaging is super cute. I really like the packaging. It doesn't look like drugstore, it looks pretty high end in my opinion. For my oldest blusher, it's definitely this. So this is the Revolution Ultra Blush Palette in Hot Spice. I've had this for ages, like I don't know how long I've had this, but I've had this for a long time. And to be honest, I really do enjoy this blusher palette. I've loved every colour I've ever used in this, which I feel like I've used every colour in this. Every time I've used this, I love how my blusher looks. It's not like it's a bad palette or it's a bad formula. I still think you can get this, and yeah, I really like the colours in this as well. These are colours that I like in blushes for my skin tone, like the orangey and the nudie kind of pinks. The only colour I don't tend to use a lot is probably this one, because it is like that bright kind of pink. But all the other colours are like my go-to kind of blush colours. So yeah, that one definitely is like my oldest blusher by far. So for my most expensive blusher, I obviously could mention the Hourglass blush palette. But in general, when it comes to like face products, my most expensive item is the Hourglass Unlocked palette. So this does have two blushes in there, and they're two beautiful blushes that I use quite a lot actually. I dip into this palette like almost every time I do my makeup, but this one is definitely my most expensive. Obviously individually I don't have like an expensive blusher. I don't really have like high-end blushes. Hourglass blushes in general are probably the most expensive that I would have in my collection if I had a single one. So for most affordable, it's definitely this one here. This is the MUA Blushed Liquid Cream Blusher in Tiger Lily. So this is a liquid blusher, cream blusher, and this only costs like £2.50. So this is definitely by far the most affordable blusher in my collection, and this is actually one of my top favourite blushes, and it's just a really beautiful orangey kind of tone, and it's an absolutely beautiful formula. I really like the formula. I was kind of taken back by how much I enjoy this and how good of a formula this is, just because it is more of like an affordable brand. Not that drugstore means it's worse, but just I wasn't expecting that much for £2.50, and I really enjoy this blusher, so I highly recommend this blusher. So for everyday blusher, this is a little bit harder for me because I don't wear makeup every day, like I've said how many times on my channel. However, if I was to wear makeup every day, I would want something like a face palette so I can just do my whole face with it. So it would definitely be one of my face palettes, like my Becca one, which is this one. This is the Becca Chloe and Malika palette, or my Hourglass Unlocked one, or my palette from MAC. Any of my face palettes, even the Benefit Cheek Parade one, I would just use anything that has a lot of products in it so I can do more than just blusher with it for my everyday. Especially if I'm just doing everyday makeup, I'm probably not got too long to do everyday makeup. So to me, it literally would just depend on whatever face palette I see first. So for blushes that have the best memory, I actually have two. I have a liquid and a powder. So the first one is the Benefit Cheek Parade palette. So it looks like this. The reason why this comes up as like my best memory is because this was my first high-end palette that I ever bought. I don't know if this was my first high-end product in general. I just remember being so excited about having like a Benefit blusher and bronzer. I just remember hearing so many people talk so highly about Hoola and the Benefit blushes that I was like, yes, I finally have a palette that has all of them. So for my second product that brings me the most like fondest memory, I would say it's this. This is the Bourjois Healthy Mix Sorbet blusher in Apricot. This obviously isn't too old, but this was the first product that introduced me to cream and liquid blushes and made me fall in love with them and just love that kind of texture on my skin. So for me, this holds quite a fond memory because I just remember like enjoying this so much and just wanting to try all the cream and liquid blushes out there. So for blusher that is worth the hype, I would definitely say it's the Flower Blush Bomb. I've got the colour Pinch. I was so excited about finally trying this because we couldn't get these in the UK for ages, and then when they did get them, I snagged this one up because I really wanted to try this because everyone that I watch and that enjoys cream blushes really enjoys this formula, and I was so happy when I tried it and I really enjoyed the formula and thought, yeah, do you know what, this is actually definitely worth all the hype that it's gotten over the years. If you like cream or liquid blushes, I highly recommend the Flower Bomb ones. It's just such a good, beautiful formula, and I really like the colour. So yeah, this is the Flower Beauty one. The colour Pinched is actually something that I'll probably wear every day, just because it is like that very mid-tone kind of neutral. So a blusher that's not worth the hype, I don't have one. I genuinely cannot think of a blusher that I've got in my collection that everyone hyped up about, and then I tried it and I was like, what? I don't get it. I generally don't have anything like that in my collection. So yeah, I don't have anything for not worth the hype. So for my favourite blush from my favourite brand, I would just have to say my Unlocked palette from Hourglass. These blushes are definitely one of the blushes that I just enjoy using the most. They're just so beautiful and so good, and Hourglass is one of my favourites, so I definitely just have to say that. I know I keep mentioning a lot of Hourglass in this palette here, but it's just what I really enjoy and one of my favourites. So my most used blusher, I have two. I have a single and I have a palette. So for my single blusher that is most used, it's definitely got to be this one. This is by Superdrug's Liquid Blusher in Nude. This is a blusher that I use a lot because it is such a neutral, just like literally a nude for my skin tone. I don't have to think about like, oh, will this go with this eye look or this eye look? I just know it will go with mostly all eye looks because it is such like a, I don't know, I don't want to say basic, but it's such a good, just overall blusher for my skin tone that this can kind of work with everything that I have on the eyes or on my lips. So this is definitely one of my like most used blushers. So another blusher that I use a lot and probably one of my most used in general overall throughout however long I've had it is this one here. So this is the Morphe 9B palette. This is discontinued, unfortunately. This has just got a lot of colours that I can work with. This is a palette that I just go to when I don't want to have to think about what blush I'm going to use, because I really enjoy using this one and this one. And yeah, out of everything I've got in my collection, this is definitely the most used one. It is one of the older ones as well. So for my least used blusher, I'm going to have to say it's this one here. This is by PS, so Primark. Double Take Eye and Face palette. So I really enjoyed the colours in this palette. I just never ever use it. I really enjoy this colour here and this colour and even this colour. I don't really kind of like these colour tones on me. But there's 3 blushes in here that I can see myself using a lot. But there's just something about this palette that even when I have time, I never think of reaching for it. I don't know if it's the formula. The formula is very like chalky and powdery. So I feel like maybe that's why. And to be honest, all the blushes that are in here are in my Morphe palette or in any of my other blushes, to be honest. So I just don't use this as much. It's one of my least used. But it's not like a bad product, I just don't use it. For most overrated blusher, this was really hard because I don't have anything in my collection that I feel like, oh, you're overrated and you have no reason to be hyped up the way you are. For my favourite packaging, it's definitely this one here. So this is the Becca, Chloe and Malika palette. This is just a stunning palette. I really like the formula in this as well. When I first tried it, I really didn't like this blusher here, but I've now grown to love it. To me, this is such a stunning palette. Yes, it's bulky and big, but I just really enjoy how it looks. And it's pretty heavy as well. It just feels expensive. It looks pretty. I just really like the packaging and the formula. So for me, my favourite blushes to wear on my skin tone are like orangey shades. Like the Bourjois one, the Revolution XX one. Anything that has that like orangey kind of burnt tint. It just brings out the kind of warmth in my undertone and stuff. I just really like orangey tones on me. For most underrated, I'm gonna have to say the MUA blusher in Tiger Lily. Literally no one ever talks about that cream blusher. I don't know if it's because I don't watch that many British YouTubers. Maybe I'm just not hearing about it because of the people that I watch. I just feel like it's such an underrated cream blush just because it's so good. To be honest, it reminds me quite a lot of like the Flower Beauty and the Be by Superdrugs. It's that kind of level. It's up there and it's like £2.50. So for me, it's definitely the most underrated. So for me, the most nostalgic, like old school beauty YouTube is the Milani Baked Bronzer in Luminoso. To be honest, any Milani bronzers is very like old school YouTube to me. Everyone had them in their collection, like everyone. I just remember watching everyone's makeup collection and everyone had at least 1 or 2 Milani baked blushes in there. I actually ended up adding in a few points myself. So I put in most surprising. So for me, the most surprising meant like the most surprising formula or colour that I bought and I was like, wow, I'm so surprised that I enjoy this that much, or I love the formula as much as I do. So for me, my most surprising blusher is definitely this one here. So this is the Makeup Obsession London Cheek and Lip Duo Blush in Number One Crush. So this is such a stunning formula, but I really didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I didn't have like really high expectations or extremely low expectations. It was just kind of like, I'm probably gonna like it and I'll probably just use it up. But I ended up really enjoying the formula and the colour. I would have never thought this colour would suit me. It's just a beautiful formula. Is really easy to blend out. Even though it's a cream blusher, it blends out extremely easy. It's not something that picks up on the product underneath the blusher. It's not something that like is hard to blend and super matte. It's more of like that kind of glowy cream blusher. It's something that actually sets when you put it down, but it still gives you enough time to blend out. It's just such a stunning blusher. I was so shocked by how much I enjoyed that formula and the colour. So for most unique blusher, I don't really have anything that's that unique, if I'm honest. Like I feel like with blushes, it's pretty hard to be unique like in 2020. This was really hard because I was like, what can a unique blusher be? If it's not a formula, then it has to be a colour. So for most unique colour in my collection, I would say it's this one here. So this is Ofra Raisin. This is a colour here. It's not a colour that I have in my collection, and it's not a colour that I see in blushes a lot. And it is absolutely stunning in the winter. Obviously, it's not super unique. I feel like makeup is really hard to be unique nowadays. So yeah, this one I would say is my most unique colour in my collection. So yeah guys, that is basically my whole blush collection. I do have a few more, but they just didn't fit in with this video. So yeah guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's blush tag. Please let me know in the comment section down below what are your favourite blushes and what is your least favourite blushes that you've tried. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye guys.